So today we're going to be talking about Bivvies, and I guess specifically the Mountain Laurel Designs Superlight silnylon Bivvy. I don't normally keep it in the stuff sack, basically just when I have it in my gear bin, that's what I do. Normally, when I'm backpacking, what I do is I just keep my sleeping bag, or my quilt really, in this, and I just stuff that in my backpack just like so. So when it comes to getting out and setting up my camp for the night, you know, I just whip out my bivvy, which has my quilt in it, and I'm ready to go. You know, you could even leave other things in there, as I'm sure I do often as well. You know, maybe some articles of clothing you know you're not going to need throughout the day. Just leave it in your bivvy and stuff it all in your backpack. You know, I never felt the need for a stuff sack when actually out backpacking. So the Superlight Bivvy, and bivvies in general, I used this bivvy for a little bit more than 5,000 miles. I have been a Tarp camper for more than 9,000 miles. So a little over half of that I used with this bivvy. And in general, I don't use bivvies anymore. I kind of hold on to this just for special situations or special weather and special conditions. Like if it's going to be extra buggy out. You know, if I'm hiking in Florida in a time where there's a lot of mosquitoes, or I'm hiking in the Sierra with a lot of mosquitoes, then maybe a bivvy would be advantageous. But even then, a lot of the times, again, depending on the weather, I just go for a bug head net or something a little bit more minimal than a full-on bivvy. The advantage a bivvy has over simply a bug head net or anything like that is obviously you're entirely protected. You don't have to concern yourself with, oh, only my head is protected and the rest of my body needs to be covered with a quilt or a sleeping bag. But really the big thing here is that this is probably going to add an extra 5 degrees of warmth. It's going to help cut down on wind. So if you're traveling with an extremely minimal kit, you can use this in conjunction with all your other stuff to maybe get away with carrying a little bit less clothing or a little bit lighter of a quilt. And that is what I had done. I had used this on the Appalachian Trail. I'd used this on the International Appalachian Trail and the Florida Trail the first time I did it. And a lot of those hikes I was doing in, you know, I was in Canada in the summer. It was still pretty darn cold. I was hiking the AT in the fall, and then the Florida in the dead of winter. So, you know, I was running into a lot of like 20-degree temperatures, and yet I was able to get away with a 40-degree bag, you know, using this bivvy and just the clothing that I had on my back. I actually really liked this bivvy, and I really enjoyed using it on those trips. You know, I felt that when it came to the end of the day that this was my little cocoon. It was my safe haven away from bugs. It was my safe haven away from cold weather. You know, I could get in this thing and I could feel safe. As you see me struggling with the zipper to get it closed as it gets caught on itself. But normally that's not that big of a deal. Anyway, I really enjoyed this, and I really loved getting in it every single night. If you're a claustrophobic person, then there's a great chance that you would get in this and you would feel very claustrophobic, you know, because it is surrounding you. You know, although I had room to like stretch out a little bit in there, you know, you're still pretty much confined to this space. And if you're surrounded by bugs, you know, you're not going to have like a living space. So that's one reason why I don't really recommend bivvies to most people, is just like, you know, if you're on a trail with a lot of rain per se, you're just going to be stuck in this thing. You know, rain and bugs, you're just going to be stuck inside of this little tiny cocoon. So a bivvy is just not like the most ideal thing. And certainly I wouldn't use this ever as like having a tarp and a bivvy as my primary shelter system. You know, I just want to use a tarp as my primary shelter system, or a tent. And maybe for certain hikes, maybe the PCT, when you're going through the Sierra, just at little pieces of that hike, maybe have this bivvy sent to me. You know, to add that extra warmth, to add that extra protection from bugs. The PCT is a wonderful example of this, because you're probably not going to need this or want this in the desert. You're probably not going to need this or want this maybe in like Northern California, but maybe in the Sierra you would want it, or maybe in Oregon, Washington you would want it. So you can just have this thing sent to you as, you know, adding on a little bit of weight here, but then the majority of the hike you're carrying a lot less. So, you know, it adds to and makes your shelter system a modular system, where you can add things and remove things depending on the weather, depending on the conditions, and you can essentially carry less than everyone else the majority of the time, since everyone else is going to have a large tent or something in the desert on the PCT, and you're just going to have this tiny little tarp that you probably don't even use, and then maybe in the Sierras have this sent to you. You may find that you don't even need it, and that's the beauty. You can have this super light tarp as your primary shelter, and then just if the conditions call for it, you could be like, okay, you know, mom, dad, friend, brother, sister, whatever, can you send me that thing? This is the Mountain Laurel Designs Superlight Bivy in silnylon. I don't know the weight of it off the top of my head, as always, but I'll leave the weight right down here. There are absolutely much lighter weight bivvies out there than this. There are even dyneema composite fabric bivvies out there. But there are also significantly heavier bivvies than this. I personally went with this because A, it's a lot cheaper, but also it's going to be a lot more durable. You know, since you're sleeping on top of this silnylon, I really wanted something that was going to be able to handle the abrasion of my back on the ground just for thousands and thousands and thousands of miles. And this did it. You know, 5,000 miles, and you know, the only thing that really sees any wear or tear is that the zippers have gotten a little bit crappy now. They still totally work, you know. I have a little bit of a hole in the netting here, but you know, it's a very small hole and I could easily sew that up if I were planning on using this again. And then also, I wanted something that was potentially going to be a little bit more breathable. You know, I don't know if it's true, but I kind of feel like maybe silnylon could be a little bit extra breathable than dyneema. But really the durability thing was kind of my biggest one, and then also the price tag. As you know, this isn't something I'm going to be using day after day after day. It's just something that I'm sending to myself during little parts of a trip here or there. I personally haven't used this a single time in the past like 5,000 or 6,000 miles that I've hiked. So, you know, did I need to spend that extra $100, $200 on a bivvy that was going to be a little bit lighter? No, I did not, and I'm very happy with my decision there. A lot of people talk about like condensation with bivvies, you know, since you are trapped inside this silnylon cocoon, you know, a lot of your breath is going to get trapped in there, and then also just like, you know, condensation is going to collect and, you know, maybe even dew on top of you. Since the temperature is going to be so much warmer inside of this bivvy than it is maybe in the outside air, I personally never once had that issue with this bivvy. And I think one of the big factors, well, possibly the silnylon could play a factor there instead of dyneema, but one of the big factors, and if I was going to recommend this bivvy to anyone, I would say get this full bug head net option. You know, there's a lot of them that only come with like a small little slit right where maybe your mouth or your face is going to be, just this small little like viewing panel, and then the rest is totally covered. I think that would feel a lot more like a coffin, because you know, you only have this tiny little viewing spot to look out from and breathe out from, but I also think that's trapping a lot more heat, you know, which in this case is going to create a lot more condensation and just water collecting inside your bivvy, getting your quilt wet, which is not something you want. Whereas a full head net option like this is definitely going to feel a lot more comfortable, just because you can look around and see around and what's going on about you, you know, but also it's going to be so much more breathable. So you're not going to get that same problem with water collecting inside. So that is like my biggest takeaway with this. So if you're hiking in a super buggy area, if you're a Florida hiker, or you know, if you hike in maybe the Sierras a lot, or Oregon or Washington, or you know, anywhere up and down the East Coast, you know, a bivvy and a tarp this is a really nice thing to kind of have in your repertoire and have in your backpacking closet so you can take it out when you need it. I really liked it. I would definitely recommend it. Though, in general, again, I would rather just use purely a tarp. I would just start with a tarp if you're new to it, and I'd hold off on the bivvy for a little while until you come across that specific situation where you feel like you need one. You know, if you're gonna need that bug protection and that like wind protection a lot more, then I would just go with a tent. You know, I'd say 90% of people, I would just recommend a tent instead and don't get a bivvy. But for those of you that are diehard tarp users like myself, then a bivvy is absolutely a nice thing to have for yourself.